Yesterday, the entire tech world collectively realized that we have entered a strange new era. It is the kind of era where Apple, a company that has spent 15 years insisting that Siri is a real AI and not a confused ghost trapped inside your phone, is now preparing to spend $1 billion every year to outsource Siri's brain to Google. Yes, Google. The same company that Apple has dragged into court more times than you have reinstalled Chrome after it ate all your RAM. And now, the Jelvix team's opinion that no one asked for. According to Bloomberg, Apple is very close to finalizing a deal that will let Google Gemini power the next generation of Siri. And if that sentence feels strange, you are not alone. It is like hearing that Ferrari will now use engines developed by Toyota, or that your gym is outsourcing personal trainers to the local donut shop. Both companies still win, but something about it just feels wrong. Yet, here we are. The modern world is confusing, and this is only the beginning. So let us talk about what this actually means, why it matters, and what kind of future we are walking into. Because this is not just Apple buying an AI model. This is Apple quietly admitting that large language models are now the foundation of the entire user experience, and they cannot afford to fall behind any longer. The official story is simple. Apple wants to upgrade Siri with real AI skills. This includes conversational awareness, follow-up questions, on-device reasoning, multimodal input and output, and the ability to understand and generate context from text, images, voice, and actions. In other words, Siri will finally be able to do the things users expected it to do in 2014. The unofficial story is slightly more chaotic. Apple has been trying to build its own LLM for years, but the internal results have not been impressive. Their model, codenamed Ajax, has improved, but not enough to power the kind of system Apple wants to ship on 1 billion devices. And when you have a trillion-dollar reputation to maintain, the last thing you want is an assistant that hallucinates instructions like a malfunctioning microwave. So instead of taking the risk, Apple is choosing the most Apple-like solution. Take out the corporate credit card and buy the best model on the market. That model, according to the report, is Google Gemini. The same Gemini that powers Bard, Gemini Advanced, YouTube AI tools, DeepMind research interfaces, and many of Google's internal agentic systems. Gemini is strong in multimodality, strong in reasoning, and very strong in image understanding. These are exactly the three areas where Siri has been, historically speaking, asleep at the wheel. With Gemini plugged into the iPhone, Siri could suddenly identify objects in real time, generate step-by-step instructions, assist across apps, remember context from earlier in the conversation, and even perform actions on behalf of the user. So the first big question appears, why is Apple not simply licensing OpenAI instead of Google? After all, ChatGPT already runs inside Apple Intelligence, and users love it. The reason is simple. Apple needs a default engine that ships to everyone, not just users who opt into ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a feature. Gemini would be the engine. Those are not the same thing. Apple must ship something natively that can work offline, on device, and inside Apple's strict privacy model. Google, surprisingly, has shown more willingness to negotiate around those constraints than OpenAI, whose models require very specific infrastructure. So what is Gemini actually doing for Apple? Three things. First, it gives Apple a complete, fully trained, globally deployed LLM family that can handle billions of daily requests without breaking a sweat. Second, it gives Apple an instantly competitive assistant without years of additional research. Third, it lets Apple do what Apple does best, present someone else's technology as if they invented it. And before you laugh, remember that this is not a new strategy. Google has paid Apple billions every year for default search placement. Qualcomm chips powered Apple laptops for 15 years. Even the original iPhone Maps app was built on top of Google Maps. Apple will use other companies' technology until the day it no longer needs them. There are bigger implications here. If Apple and Google fully merge their user-level AI strategies, the rest of the industry is in trouble. Microsoft loses its iPhone beachhead. OpenAI loses a massive distribution channel. Amazon has to rethink Alexa, and every smaller AI company is suddenly competing with a duo that controls 90% of mobile web traffic. Privacy also becomes a major concern. Apple built its entire brand around the idea that your data never leaves your device without permission. And now they might rely on a model developed by the world's largest advertising company. To be fair, both companies insist that Apple will keep full user-level privacy. But the history of big tech suggests that what begins as a simple model licensing agreement often grows into a full ecosystem integration. This also begins a new chapter in the AI platform wars. Until now, the battlefield was cloud infrastructure. Whoever had the best GPUs, the best data centers, and the best training pipeline would win. But that era is ending. The next phase is about distribution. You can build the best model in the world, but if you cannot put it on a billion devices, you are irrelevant. This is the part where Apple quietly steps forward and says, "We have a billion devices." And Google looks back and says, "We have a billion users." And Microsoft watches from across the room, realizing that even with the best PC ecosystem in the world, they do not control the device people use most: the phone. So, what happens next? Apple will release the new Siri early next year. Gemini will run behind the scenes. Apple will claim that everything is powered by Apple Intelligence. Google will claim that Gemini is everywhere. And users will finally have an assistant that can do more than set timers and misinterpret basic instructions. And for $1 billion per year, Google will get exactly what it wants: influence over the largest smartphone ecosystem on the planet. Apple gets a fully functioning AI assistant without years of delayed development. Users get something that actually works, and the rest of the industry gets a very loud message. The AI platform race is no longer about who builds what. It is about who can afford to license the best model first. This has been the Jelvix AI Report. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.